Welcome to this edition of What is Truth? I'm your host, Dave Reaver. It is with great pleasure today that I introduce to you one of the greatest stories of the modern age. Does it sound like I'm exaggerating? Not so. Wait till you hear. In Vietnam, during the time of our nation's most confused and devastating political upheavals, God was doing miracles. In 1974 and 1975, I returned to Vietnam. It was not my intention to fight that war again in the physical sense, but I had a call of God on my life to go back and finish what I had started. The unfinished work was that was started with an M16 and would conclude with a John 3:16. If you're a Vietnam veteran or you know of one, get them to watch this episode. This story will give healing to those who feel their sacrifice was wasted. Politics has never been the solution to the broken heart of mankind. Only Jesus can heal the brokenhearted. As you will see in this program, my heart and the hearts of thousands and thousands of Vietnamese that have come to know Christ are changed, and the healing is real. The gentleman you're about to meet is Dr. Daniel Dang. As a young boy in a crowd of many people in a bombed-out school building in Da Nang, I had the opportunity to share the power and the glory of the story of Jesus Christ. Out of 500 students, every one of them came forward for a commitment to Christ in salvation. Wait till you hear the rest of the story as it unfolds on this program. Get your family together, call them in, and witness the book of Acts that's still being written. This is the time for them to see the miracle of God's intervention in human affairs. And I promise you, it's a story you'll never forget. Don't go away. I will be right back. Sitting to my right is another miracle. In the previous programs, we've talked about people on this program that are miracle people. They're miracles because of God. But today you're going to see the unfolding of the miraculous steps taken by God in the lives of the three of us. How in the world did we come to know Dr. Dan Dang, sitting to my right? And this guy to his right, how did I get to know him? Well, I've known him all my life, literally. This is my brother and our guru for theological studies. He's my favorite professor in the world. Ho Chi Minh, I mean Al Reaver. The Vietnamese love Al because the children come up and they say, Uncle Ho, because he's got the beard, looks just like Ho Chi Minh. We're going to have a lot of fun today. So Dr. Dan, I'm glad to have you on this program with us, and it's going to be a roaring good time. Talk to me a minute. How did we come to know you?
Well, this is an honor to be in here this morning, and the first time I met you in Vietnam, in Da Nang, my dad put the school assembly together for 500 students for you to come over and speak to us. And this is amazing. At 15 years old, I look at you. I mean, we wonder what happened to you.
I wonder what happened to you.
Yeah, what happened to you until you told with all of us, you fight for our freedom. And the freedom is not free. And that's what happened. And this is amazing, to look at you and see what's going on. And it melted my heart, Dave, when you said, the first time I came to Vietnam with a gun called M16, but now I'm coming back with John 3:16. That's first time I met you.
And the John 3:16 is a sharper weapon than all the other weapons of warfare known.
Yes, it is. Yes, it
Dan,
is.
you were in that crowd. There were 500 in there. I wouldn't have known you from anybody else, but I was the only speaker, so when you looked at me, you didn't forget me. How did we connect in the United States of America? This is a long story, but it's worth telling.
It is amazing. On that moment in Da Nang, you say, inside this room, another person who died for your freedom. And that's person named Jesus. And I look at you and I said, look at Dave Reaver. He got a right to hate all Vietnamese people, but now he's coming back. And also not coming back all by himself, but he bring along with another friend. His name is Jesus.
Amen.
And then,
I never leave home without him.
it's amazing. And then I went back home and told my father, I just say, I would like to follow Mr. Dave River footsteps. My dad looked at me like strange. You want to be wounded like him? You want to hurt like him? I said, no, look at his heart. Look at his heart. I want to share the gospel. But that in 1974. In 1975, the communist took over and controlled Vietnam. I never dreamed to get into America. Yet all my life, I knew that we stuck in Vietnam. Grew up in the communist country, grew up in the war country. We just see and saw the dead body every day. It took my childhood away from my life. Yeah. I saw the dead body, the rocket landing, not so far from our house, almost like every night. You hear the big bang, and then you wake up and you hear the woman and children screaming. And that's until now. When I heard the woman screaming, the children running and crying, it still bothers me. Yeah. Still, flashback for that what happened. But 1975, the communist took over and controlled the whole country. And my father took the whole family to get out from Vietnam by boat. Originally, the communists that market my family, my dad working for the CIA. So that means if they take over and control the whole country, we all get killed.
Yeah, they'd have killed you in a flash.
They're going to do that. So 27 days to get out looking for freedom. 27 days. And I just amazing. Remember back on that many years, the first 7 days, we ran out of food and water. And then I remember the captain said, we got a couple more days. If we got no water, no food, if somebody die, we have to eat the flesh to survive. Oh. So think about that. 15 and a half years old, I wonder what happened. And I just pray, I said, Jesus, let me die first. I don't want to eat my father. I don't want to eat my mom. I don't want to eat my family.
Dan, nobody hears this side of the story. We all hear about poor Vietnam veterans. I don't mean that negative, but poor me. It's always about poor me. We're seeing your side of the story. Go ahead. I don't mean to interrupt you.
That's my prayer. I said, Jesus, if that happened, let me die first. I don't want to see my family suffer, and I don't want to eat, anybody's flesh at all. The day number 8 is amazing. The middle of the night, we saw the light flashing. They communicate to light. We have no idea what's going on. I remember from yellow to turn green, and finally they turn red, and everybody's scary. We wonder what's going on. Maybe China or maybe somebody going to shoot in us. But suddenly, 2 o'clock in the morning, the boat completely stopped, and spotlight you turn on. And out is amazing. I saw the American flag. Hold them up.
Oh yeah.
I just sat there and crying because I smell freedom. When you lost the freedom, you appreciate the freedom. You appreciate freedom.
Yes, Dan.
Until in the morning, the Navy boat coming in. And the guy that spoke Vietnamese, they asking, you go to Subic Bay in Philippines. And we all just shouting and crying and just so happy. Because when we see that American flag, we see the freedom. And the Navy took us, transferred us from the small boat to the big ship, and took us to Subic Bay and to Guam Island.
To Guam.
That's what I came to America.
Now you went from Guam to the United States and entered school. You had to learn English. You had to learn how to understand mathematic problems spoken in English. That had to be a challenge. You had to learn and integrate into the lifestyle of the United States. You went to college. You graduated high school, went to college, got a master's degree in
MBA.
in business. And something happened when, from the great state of Texas, someone showed up to offer you a job. Tell us about that right quick.
Well, when we came to Omaha, Nebraska, the culture shock. We came in May of 1975. Tornado hit Omaha, Nebraska. It's unbelievable. When we saw that city, we said,
"Welcome home."
This is just like, another bomb, being hit the city, and then that reflects everything back. And then we hit a first time ever in our life, the snowstorm in 1975. So I remember the first time out, I enjoyed snow because I never ever see the snow, ever in my life.
You ran out there screaming chicken noodles, right?
I went out there, we enjoyed until my ear is frozen, my nose, everything. And then we say, okay, that's enough. Vietnam is hot and sweat, and now we're heating, And in Vietnam, I grew up in Vietnam, and my dad he was the head of the Assembly of God in Vietnam. So we worked with a lot of the missionaries in Vietnam. But my heart, I knew I'm not going anywhere. So I tried to study. I don't want to learn another language because I knew that 16, 17, if you don't pass the test, you have to join to the military. I want to be the general. I want to learn everything in Vietnam, anything, culture, whatever. Came to America, I got suffer. It's so dearly because the culture, the custom, and language. I cannot speak anything at all. So just like you, silent with us all, but, and the really bad thing, Dave, my English teacher, she Chinese.
So you got a Chinese
So
accent.
here I came to America learning English with the Chinese. So we had the accent and Chinese accent, and then the Vietnamese accent, and then we had, all kinds of things. This messed me up so bad, and but I just struggle. I came in home, opened the dictionary, tried to translate every single word to study. Make it to high school, got my bachelor degree, and working like about a year or two, and then I got my master's degree. And when I got my master's degree, I got offer from Tandy Corporation, came to Omaha, Nebraska. So work with them, work for them, and I enjoyed. I enjoyed retail. I enjoyed to communicate with customers, deal with people. Then they told me I have to come to the headquarters for training. So I came to headquarters, and I told my wife, I said, I don't want to come to headquarters. Politics, number one. Number two, Texas is too hot. Omaha is cool and nice. And don't ever say, you never.
Don't say you never.
Never say never.
A week later on, I got a phone call say, Dan, you need to move to Texas. And my first assignment, he came to a small Radio Shack store in Lakewood. So we want to see if we're going to shut down the store or we can relocate it, different location. And I've been there only like about a couple of days.
And something happened.
And normally I don't take care of the customer, but it's so busy, and I try to rescue them. And I saw this gentleman come over.
Now hold it right there, because this is what I have to intervene with this knowledge. We owned all that property around there. The ministry did. And we had a very large facility that could seat hundreds and hundreds of people. We had what was called Teen Satellite Network, TSN. And we broadcast into public schools. And I needed a piece of wire that long to move a monitor where I could keep an eye on the monitor and the camera at the same time and not be obvious doing this. So I said to my brother, who was working with me, run down to Radio Shack, it's just 50 yards, and get a piece of extension wire for that video so I can see it on the monitor. He comes back an hour later. I said, I just need a wire. I didn't need you to negotiate to buy the place. He said, oh, shut up. Come with me. And we walked down, and here's where you need to take it over.
Well, I want to point out, because when you sent me, it was the middle of the afternoon. And I went down there. They didn't have that piece of wire. And so they said, we'll have to bring it in from another store and come back. Dan wasn't there at that point. And so, you know, I just said, okay, I'll go back at 5 o'clock and pick it up. So I go back at 5 o'clock and I walk in and there's this gentleman. I told him who I was and what I needed. I didn't give him a name. I just told him, you know, I had ordered that and they said it would be in. He said, yeah, it's right here, you know. So he got it all up. And I handed him the paper that said we were a nonprofit. And
Tax exempt.
Tax exempt. And so whenever I was filling it out and everything, he said, if you don't mind my asking, who are you affiliated with? And I said, well, my brother and I are both ordained Assemblies of God. And he went, my father was chairman of the Assemblies of God in Vietnam. And immediately I start feeling that feeling. You know, there's a sensation that something divine is about to happen. And whatever it was, I felt, and I said, you know, that's strange. I said, my brother was in the war in Vietnam, and he was injured, but he went back to preach the gospel, and he went, your brother, and he described your face. You know, he said, I mean, and now then, I got chill bumps, you know, running all over me and all over each other. I mean, I'm just like, wow. And I said, how did you know him? He said, I heard that man speak when I was 15 years old in Da Nang. And Dave, at that instant, I had that sense of just a divine appointment. God is in this. I don't understand what's going on. I don't know how that over those years and years that God would pull all the strings and whatever. At that point, I didn't know anything about what he had been through. Just that it was like 17 years from the time that you guys met or encountered each other in Da Nang to now when I'm encountering him in Lake Worth, Texas.
Yeah, 50 yards from my office.
And not 50 yards. And when he said, I told my father I would follow that man.
In his footsteps.
And I said, well, he's not 50 yards behind you. it was so.
It stung me. I mean, this is amazing. And boss, follow your footsteps. Not easy. Now we deal with 36 countries around the world.
I want you to say that again, because sitting at the table now, from that day then, it started with, I made a statement. I came with a M16. I have returned with a John 3:16. The Word of God will make room for itself.
Yes.
And that John 3:16 message is the hope of the world. And when I said that, it stuck in his head. He said, I'll follow in his footsteps. You walk over. That connection, not just of wire, but that spiritual connection, that all the pieces had to fit in God's exact timing. You had to go back at 5 o'clock.
That's it.
You walk in, make that connection. I walk in, he says, I know who you are. You're Dave Reaver. I said, who are you? He said, I'm Daniel Dang. I told my father I'll follow your footsteps. Well, you did a good job. So I told him what you told him. That night, you brought all your friends in ministry to the Vietnamese community, and we had our first Mission Vietnam meeting that would begin to change this planet.
Yes, it did.
Not just a company, not just a county, not just a country. It would change the planet. And thousands and tens of thousands of Vietnamese have come to know Christ because you obeyed God. You survived those days on that water when you should have starved to death or literally baked to death under the sun or died of thirst and malnutrition, etc. God had a plan, and there's no devil in or out of hell big enough to stop it when God's in it. Tell me some more, Racco. We got just about 2 minutes.
Well, now we work together with the ministry, Al River and myself and the entire team. We take the discipleship. At this moment, we got over 120,000 students with 36 countries. Not done yet. Continue to go.
Yep.
Continue to go.
And there's more we could tell you, but we don't want to blow our cover. I'll just leave it like that. There is so much more happening. You have no clue People said this to me this morning, and I hear it every day I'm out and about. The people say to me, the more I get to know you and what you do, I thought you were just a speaker. We didn't know you had schools all over the world. We didn't know you had this university mentality of training people. Dr. Dang, Al Reaver, I want to tell both of you guys, I didn't do this. We did this together with the Spirit of God. The same Spirit that was in Christ is in us. We're in one accord and one unity. And I love what we're doing in Vietnam, and we're about to learn more in the coming programs. Yes. I've got 3 more weeks of being together with you guys, and I want the audience to hear me. Please go to our YouTube channel every week and see what's on. Don't allow yourself to forget. We'll remind you when you see our emails and all, please respond to them, because Dan, we're going to do some more. What are things that are coming up? Do it very quickly because we only got about 30 seconds.
We were talking about K to 12.
Yep.
That's our school we open. We were talking about the discipleship. We in Africa, in European country, and a lot in Middle East also too.
And in India.
In India.
And things that are happening there. Well, look, I'm going to be back in a little bit with what we call my comment. At that point, I'm going to share some things out of my heart as to why these things are happening. Dan, thank you. I want to say this publicly. Al, thank you. I thank all of the staff of REAP International, R-E-A-P, REAP International. Go online, look at REAP International, and see what this ministry is doing around the world. It will blow your mind. Stay tuned. I'll be right back. Well, as you can see, the steps of a righteous man or righteous woman or righteous teenager or righteous elementary school, whatever, if you're righteous in Christ, your steps are ordered of the Lord. That doesn't mean just take a step, left, right, left, right. That's ordered step. But you know what else it means? Orderly, without confusion. God has a plan. And when that plan is exercised through our obedience to His command, that orderly outcome will be miraculous. You know, the one person that doesn't get it very often is the devil himself. He has all the same signs of the times that we do, but he doesn't get it through his head that he's already, not yet to come, he's already defeated. In 1969, on the bank of a river in Vietnam, a sniper put a bullet through my hand and blew a grenade 6 inches from my face, blew off half my skin, set me on fire, 60 pounds of flesh gone. And the devil should have finished the job he started. But he couldn't, because my steps that day were being ordered of the Lord. God didn't do this to me. God didn't shoot me. He didn't set me on fire. No, they don't give a Purple Heart for something God did to you. No, this is war. People do to people what God never thought of, and we teach the devil most of what he knows when it comes to being bad. But I'm going to tell you, that day was as much in the plan of God for my life as if it had never happened to be the plan of God for my life. Here's what I'm trying to tell you is, God has this plan. The devil doesn't know the details, but he's smart enough to look and to figure things out just like we do. You see a bunch of traffic ahead of you, you see taillights coming on, parking lights, or rather brake lights, and when you see that, you go to your brake because you can predict that this thing's coming to an end. Well, the taillights and the brake lights are showing up now, friend. Time is moving, and it's moving so fast it's coming to a quick end. And everything the devil tried to do to me on the bank of that river in the year 1969, now in the year 2020 of perfect vision and hindsight, all I can see is the hand of God. And now over 120,000 students studying for ministry, most of them in Vietnam, 36 countries, a dozen or so languages. How did all this happen? Because somewhere as a young boy, I gave my heart to Christ. Dan Dang gave his heart to Christ. My brother gave his heart to Christ. It starts with a relationship with Jesus. If you don't know Him, ask Him into your heart today. This has been one of the most unique programs we'll ever share, and there's more to come in weeks ahead. Do not miss it. I'll be back in 1 minute with the countdown.
Dave Reaver wants you to have a copy of his book, Scarred. Scarred is an energetic account of Dave Reaver's life, told only as he can tell it.
So I took my physical. It's the only exam I passed that whole semester. I got an O+ on the blood test.
He tells an explosive story of triumph, reflecting on his youth, his injury in Vietnam, and his continuing recovery. You'll feel like you're there with Dave as his faith in God carries him through. Your gift of $15 or more will go directly to help Dave Reaver and his associates take the gospel of Jesus Christ to young people, members of our armed forces, and many others around the world. Call, click, or write today and request your copy of Scarred. And when you do, you'll help Dave Reaver and his associates continue to share the life-changing gospel with thousands.
And now for the countdown. During the outset of the COVID-19 pandemic, I watched the governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, do his daily briefings on his handling of the crisis. His solution was to send those infected with the deadly virus to nursing homes, of all places, to die. Well, those infected, in turn, infected the absolute most vulnerable of all citizens to the virus, causing the death rate to skyrocket. Only recently has the truth come out that the number of senior citizens who died from the governor's massive blunder is double the numbers he reported. Yet, the biased media knowingly did not report on it because their darling governor must be protected from tarnishing the narrative of the liberals' progressive party line. The Hitler rule of deception was, tell a lie loud enough and long enough and the people will believe it. The whole malignant philosophy of Adolf Hitler was to eliminate all humanity that was not blonde-haired and blue-eyed, and all subhumans with physical or mental deformities, and of course, the most hated of all his extermination ambitions, the utter annihilation of every Jew on the face of the earth, to the tune of 6 million of God's children in gas chambers and ovens being murdered. His bow or burn policies are reappearing in their infant form today, with the self-contradicting message of tolerance while not tolerating any differences of opinion contrary to their personal agenda of entitlements for themselves and control through submission over others, and to control the hearts and minds of mankind to turn a nation against God and put Satan on God's throne. The Bible predicted these last days, saying, "The heart of evil man is deceitfully wicked above all things. Who can know it?" I'm Dave Reaver. I'll see you on the next edition of What is True.